Hello Year 5 and welcome to this week's art lessons. It's the last of the lessons in our space landscapes, and so far we have done our wash and then we've started to build up layer by layer the detail that we wanted to put on top of that. And last week we looked at various brush strokes that we could use to create different effects in building up this landscape. So wherever you're at, you'll need to be thinking about adding the finer detail onto it today. If we look at some of these paintings, you'll be able to see, for example, it's really clear in this one that this was probably the last thing that got painted onto the background. And you need to build up until you can get to that point. Adding black is always very difficult because if you don't get it right, if you get it too watery, it just covers the page in a whole grubby puddle, and that's the effect that we do not want to create. Now, as you know, we've been looking at the artist Megan Duncanson, and you can see here that she would have done her wash and then she would have built up these brush effects in the background and then probably added this moon type effect and these waves. And then very finally, she would have painted on this black tree-like effect using a fine paintbrush and some quite thick black watercolour paint. The same on here. She would have had to have painted this moon before she added on these branches. So how has this artist used paint and techniques to produce pattern, colour, texture, tone, shape, space, form and line in her paintings? She would have used a whole variety of techniques. Have a little look closely and think about what you think she would have done and which order she would have painted things in. And also think about what you like or you don't like, because that can influence what you're going to do in your painting. This is the artist Theo Dupont, and he's similarly built up his layers, and you can see probably that this would have been the last detail that he would have added to this picture, his trees, okay, on very bleak back landscapes. Now, these I've shown you before. These are some ideas from previous years' work that I've taken pictures of, and you can see they have built up their layers, and the last thing that they would have added on is their black, but you can see they've done it really carefully, so we've got no black or grey murky puddles. Okay, so here the tree and the boulders would have been the last thing to be added on, and the same here. Okay, and then finally here you'd have seen the boulders being painted on. Maybe the sun was painted on last. Okay, build up the effect layer by layer. And here we've got a tree, and I would have thought these planets and maybe these rocks would have been the last things that would have been added to their painting. So today you're going to paint your foreground. You will be able to use black and white to extend the shades and tones within your space scene painting. I want you to think about what you like about the artist's work that we've looked at over the last few weeks, and that might help you to think about what you might paint in your foreground. Is it a tree, a planet, rocks, boulders? And what different brushstrokes could you use to try to create some different effects? And once you've done your foreground, you will need to somehow try and incorporate your agate creature into your painting, whether it be the whole creature, a tentacle, or an arm. Remember, you're trying to camouflage your creature in the painting so it's hidden. That's why we've used the colours that we have done. So have a little look. Can you find the creatures hidden in this painting? Maybe here. And what about in this one? You can just see an arm. Maybe some, are they his eyes or his ears sticking up here? So how can you camouflage your creature in your painting? I look forward to seeing your ideas and to see what you've managed to create. And don't forget, you can do the same in different ways. So if you've been building it up with collage or with chalks or crayons, have a little think. How can you camouflage your creature into your artwork? Please send in the results. We want to see pictures of them. Send them in, and Miss Bridges and Mrs. Roberts and Miss Dawes, Mrs. Morgan and myself will be really happy to see them. Happy art this afternoon. Enjoy. Bye.